Okay, so clearly we need to take this a little bit more serious. I've said my piece. Yes, I was emotional. I accept my ban because I knew this was going to happen. That was kind of the point. But I didn't think it would go to these lengths. So I want to again thank everyone who stood by me and tried to get me unbanned, but I'm not seeking to be unbanned at this stage because I don't think that is possible. I also want to point out that there's currently a massive purge happening in the community Discord. Anyone who says anything of dissent, anything negative, is, well, seen as toxic and immediately removed. A lot of these people are doing this on my behalf. And again, I thank you for that. I did not expect that result. And it's been heartwarming to see the responses and everyone assisting me and bringing me these screenshots. Because no, I'm not subverting the ban. I also consider that I didn't really go that far. Yes, I was unprofessional because I am not a professional. And yes, I don't adhere to American business politics. I am not an always positive person. And any negativity is usually struck down in these environments, which is a better definition than toxic than what has been used to describe me. This is a serious video. I won't be making any jokes or any sarcastic comments that could be misconstrued, because clearly that was also an issue. However, what I do have a problem with is lies being told about me. That sits quite badly with my integrity, my sense of integrity at least. And I can't let that pass. I wasn't going to make another video. I was just going to let this happen. And I especially wasn't going to attack Ares further because, well, I already got to 100% the first try, so dear God, man. Things learned many years on the internet, I guess, but I do sincerely say that prepare yourself for the Steam results, for the Steam reviews, because everything I've done up this point has been mild. But there you go, saying things that aren't true. So first I need to frame everything that leads up to this point for a moment. We went into this, the community, went into this with a full knowledge of history and a full expectation of history repeating itself. And we were right. So, when terms like community-assisted development and all those things get mentioned, we get really excited because we are a passionate bunch. And as you know, passion in the community usually means unpaid labor. And we're willing to do that. I will quote again, and I'm not lying when I say there are plenty of even AAA developers in this community willing to work for you for free. But that is an impossibility, which goes against the idea of community-assisted development. You are, after all, technically an indie studio, are you not? So when that happens, many among us want to help out. And when the first results presented them, we're like, oh, the first closed alphas were atrocious. And I mean when I say that this is no fault of the developers and the people coding and all that. Because we don't expect people to immediately from the get-go get to the standard that we are already at. This is not a point of arrogance, this is simply a point of fact, because there have been so many Tribes projects. There have been so many things that, and I'm not talking about the frills around the game, what kind of damage a weapon needs to do. I mean the founding pillars. Jets, skiing, maps. And then of course the base weapons and the no-hit scan thing. And even the people working on Tribes Ascend, because Tribes Ascend, in the eyes of many, was a reduction of what Tribes was. Even in the framework of very small-scale tribes, people were willing to help out and make that part of the vision work. Why? Because we knew there is a timer on this project. I personally predicted April. It was a little earlier. We knew there was going to be a limited amount of time to get these core systems right. Why? Because of history, and we knew this was going to be a small-scale project after the previous failed ones, which is again a factual thing. And this is with full intent to make tribes and to assist you. So when I say that the physics are horrible and it is incomprehensible that it's still bad after months, when indie developers literally have done it maybe 3-4 times in the last few years, and that a person like JPrice, sorry to use your name again, we literally checked the receipts, we checked the messages. He reworked his physics in 9 hours, and it is what is being used now. I'll put the link in the description actually for his game. It's really fun. It's just a little shoot 'em up. That is a failure of the project and the development, not the developers. It is because goalposts are being moved. It is because things are changing. It is because one of the core principles of tribes, the physics, are constantly being jostled around and being band-aided to be brought to a result that has nothing to do with tribes. Forcing it. The whole point of tribes is that it is unbound. So this is why this project fails in that department. And then on the department of maps, again, I have been working for the last 2 years on Axial Drift, on Jetpack Battle, on a few other projects. Anyone who would want my maps, I'll put my maps in the description as well. Anyone can use them. I do not expect a non-seasoned developer to make a tribes map. The decision to use old tribes maps was there, and we suggested that. That didn't happen. The first few maps that were made, especially the small wave mist, the original island map, again, as I made clear in my first video, but we'll talk about that later, clearly indicates that this is not a tribes map. It is, of course, forced to be what the intent was, a small-scale tribes Rocket League. But here I am, excited, going, oh, but don't worry, all of us want to save you time and money, because, again, 40 people working on it. If 40 people are working on it, there are the problems with stating that, but that's not the point. Here you go, I gave the map, you can have them. And I, again, have an obsessive knowledge, because I've been doing this for a long time, because of Tribes Ascend, because those maps had problems with them. I don't expect the developers to be high-end players. You have these, apply their knowledge. I also want to specify that it is not simply my idea of maps. It is, firstly, the analysis I made that I presented. Whatever result it might be, I made very small maps, especially for the Tribes 5v5 meta. It could all be adjusted, because what I figured out as archetypes could be applied to anything. I have yet to have a negative review on any of the maps. Now, of course, here comes the hook. Why haven't we seen any of these projects? Well, because I have a very niche knowledge, and all of these little projects, well, not a lot of them make it very far. Again, one is still in development right now, and a few others as well, because it is a niche thing to do. As you've stated yourself, who's crazy enough to make tribes? Well, tribe projects, there have been dozens over the last year. People keep wanting to make tribes, and you have the funds to do it, and all of that coalesced knowledge you throw away, and or at least force your developers to twist in some way. So again, this is not a failure of the ability, the knowledge, or even the intent of the developers. So we're not lying when we say things are improving. Things are better. They are progressing. Good. Sometimes there's a setback and we are baffled why that is, but okay, that's fine. However, better every time does not give you passing grades. Now the development has effectively stopped. That is what's being said, and that is what I responded to. And that is why there was the outburst of things are still broken. We expected things to eventually improve. It is not forcing it in a direction. We're just still talking about the foundational stuff. So, when I see things like, he says a lot of stupid things. Joe, first of all, Azrael, I hope you're still on the server. Watching this graph video over 50% through, and it's so far everything has been accurate. Reply. He says a lot of stupid things that just keep pissing off many of our hardworking developers, which have made and played Tribes forever. The hyperbole here is not necessary. He's also making his own version, so take that with a grain of salt. Yes, I am working on a PvE Tribes, because my original idea before all of this happened was to first introduce the idea of skiing and travel large-scale terrains and everything in a PvE environment, so people can rediscover what Tribes is, you know, purely casually. And there is another component to this, but I'll fill that in later. I'm also not ready to reveal anything. I've shown a few things on stream here and there, but we're not ready. We're doing this in our free time. And yes, I'm working with seasoned developers on this. We talked to him in the past already, but he does not listen or care. Not going to waste any more time on him or let him poison the well with bad intentions. Now you're starting to piss me off, Higgins. I didn't memorize the video, but I think he wasn't critical of the devs. He even said something like, I don't blame the developer. No, because they are not doing what they are just told, and it is pissing off the developers. Now, at this point, I want to state, if any of the developers of Prophecy, barring errors, have any issue with what I said or what I have done, post my attempt to explain it, come to me. I wish to talk. I have wished to talk for a long time, and I haven't actually talked to many of you. I have requested, but have so far not really had any chance. But more on that later. This one, just as, yeah, don't worry about it. So, and another thing here. Actually, I don't care what he says about me, but I do care about what he says about the rest of the development team. We spoke to him several times to get his direct feedback. He really does not give a shit except to keep putting down the developers. And I will state for the record as well that any insults were directed at Erez personally. Mentally deficient, all those words that I used in jest, more than actual direct insults that I meant in the heat of the moment. None of those were directed at the developers. My issue is with your result. I agree, and I've never lied in my videos about the fact that things are improving. My anxiety and my rage comes from the fact that you stopped that development. You said the roadmap is done. And I know for a fact, by the way, that even though nothing has been said about spectating mode, not even a whiff, well, at least from the Mick interviews, like, yes, you know, those are things we're working on, but just simply a hint of it's going to be there or that. I've heard things, I've heard rumors, and the fact that somebody actually got into spectating mode by a bug, I know it's now being worked on, but an official statement would be nice. And that's one of my first videos that really, I sort of dropped my pretense a little bit when I asked for communication. But clearly that was impossible because we were going to be cutting this development even shorter than we once believed, because honorable is probably going to be a thing. So you can leave behind the Tribes community that really wishes to help you. So, full disclosure, I've had contact with one of the developers over the course of this entire project, since the beginnings, the scouting, let's say, that happened in the tribes community about this when the pivot was starting to happen. I'm going to leave their name out of it because this was done in good faith. But if you are going to throw me under the bus like this, then I really need to defend myself here. Everything I said was emotional. This is true. And again, the map results, for instance. Yes, the bathtub thing, it is a frustration when mostly coming from the fact that I know that these two maps are going to be in the finished game, even though the 2nd of December I made my feedback. Well, then of course that comes back to the whole do it the way we say, what I say, or I get angry, which I will also elaborate on. So these are messages from the developer, from a developer that I've been talking to, and I'm so sorry, but I have to, because I have to defend myself. Hey there, I saw your most recent video, the Tribes Reddit, great work. Hoping to pass some of your stuff on today when our designers are all in. This is unprompted. This is where this was on the 27th of November. I posted my map feedback and suggestions thing, 11-minute video. Hey, you wanted clear and concise. Spent a day making this 11-minute video, condensing my main concerns, and my suggestions are in line with the game's direction and the goals raised by Erez and some of the other devs, likely yourself included. Because I want to not do what I want, because I want 40-kilometer giant terrains. This was based on small-scale tribes. I acquiesce to that. I get a response 2 days later, because, again, we don't rush these things. I know I'm not a priority, because sometimes they've got better things to do than talk to a Belgian. This is wonderful. Thank you for the vid. We just had a chat internally about it. Should help with some ideas. I'm glad. Thanks for that. I'm quite serious about the idea of creating good standard archetypes for the kind of games this will become, and I'm always willing to have a chat in that regard. For instance, if I can know what kind of resolution and scaling in Unreal Engine you guys are working with, I could make a follow-up with the rotation of concepts. Right now, it was just an educated guess. I know I keep bothering you with this, so sorry, and thanks for being the messenger so far. No, you're not bothering me at all. For what it's worth, Erez loved your vid. That's great to hear too. I have a bit of a reputation for back in TA. We never got a chance to test things back then, so it would be wonderful to help you out now. I just want to offhandedly mention, and again, I don't want to throw this person under the bus, so I'm not going to mention any names, but after the Out of the Blue patch, I got a message from a former high-res employee apologizing to me that they didn't listen to me, or at least they saw all the videos that I made back then and the suggestions, and blanketly said that I was right. But they couldn't because the development had closed and they didn't have time or, resources and development left to do anything with it. That set me on the path to get better at what I was doing. I have tested those early concepts and they're fine, but I am a singular authority on maps and no one else has told me otherwise. This is not a point of arrogance, this is... God damn it. I appreciate it. This is now the 6th of January. I appreciate it. Oh, sorry. I skipped the part here. That's great. So then, for a long time, I didn't speak to them because I don't badger these people only when I have something to say. So this is now a month later. And, yeah, so... I post a lot of things that I've been working on, and he responds to that. Hey there, Greth. Happy New Year to you as well. Thanks for sending me this. By the way, do you think we should log the speed on play? So there was a lot of things as well. I detected a speed bug, which then got fixed. I didn't even post that in the. I just directly put that in. There you go. All right. Did some testing. I saw your comment and wasn't getting a direct upward trajectory. That's the bugging thing. All right. Anyway. And as always, your feedback is very important to us. You're always quite rational and thorough, so it is much appreciated. I can't speak for our map designer other than we are working on a test of some of the things you pointed out in the near future. I have not mentioned this, by the way. I've only alluded to it. I'm forced to do this now to protect my own integrity, and I'm sorry. I appreciate it, I said. As I said, I don't particularly have my own personal vision of what this games need to be for me. I want to see it in its best iteration, with certain foundations locked in place from what came before. I have strong opinions about the BTX. Guess what? The BTX got removed. That was a good take. I think a lot of people hated it, not just me. I'm glad you guys took the throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks approach this time, although the hitbox change is a bit of a monkey's paw wish to get people to experience their first MAs. If you roll back or reduce the hitbox size, you'll still see easier MAs because people's overall speed has been increased in this test. And with the inheritance slider, I'm actually hitting shots, which is true because I had 50%. I'm looking forward to a potential map reveal. I still stand by the fact that it's 50% of game balance, which I still stand by. And it's you guys, and if you guys are using new tools, if those are the ones I suggested, then I'm always willing to assist in tutorializing some of the stuff I've done. These generators aren't really intended for playable terrain, so you need to apply some not immediately obvious methods to get good results. I'd spent 3 weeks getting Gaia to produce something I could use. But I was willing to give them my master file. I've already given my master file at least to one mapper who can now use it. So then a few days later, and you look nailing down the odd behavior. This is still bad thing. We had some other focuses, but I'm going to be looking at it today regardless. There's things that I cannot say, nothing instead, and okay. Stick with us. My mission is to propagate tribes in any shape or form. That will not change. About that forcing my vision. Although I still feel I could save you guys a lot of time and effort, even just with tooling, if not with direct feedback given a chance. And I do have a AAA contact that could fix all your movement quirks in a matter of hours by the use of another tool. Again, this isn't a note about ability on any end. This is about us having done exactly this multiple times over the last decade. So the sentiment of stick with us is more mutual than you might think. This is truth, by the way. More on that later. Well, a man needs to make content, right? The only thing I'm worried about is any potential looming early access. This is the 11th of January. But I'm all for you guys actually doing alpha things with your alpha, as I've stated before. So one last thing, I couldn't see the patch notes. Is the new map going to make it in? Or, not yet, unfortunately. It will be the first. I will be the first to let you know. But we talked about it again today. That was Torment, by the way, I think. It was maybe it was the X first and then Torment, but yeah. And then I showed, so again, you can have these terrains. So I showed my, I'd been playing around with some maps. And I just dumped them in there, free to use. There you go. And mostly for prototyping, I expect them not to use the exact height maps, right? Oh, these are cool. Thanks for the files. I'll talk to our map designer about them tomorrow. Hope you enjoy the patch, and I look forward to your incoming video. Have a good night. And this is where, hey dude, unfortunately I don't have the answers, as map design is not my forte. So what I asked about is, again, can I get your sizes, your resolutions, your tools, anything that I can use so I can maybe assist in some of the issues you're having. And fixes aren't coming, but they're outside of my purview. Right. Well, this is again where I asked to have a chat with the map designer. So there we go on this stuff, if anything. So that's exactly what I put there. Tools, nitty-gritty stuff concerning Unreal Engine. I did the height map stuff for multiple projects in Unreal 4 and 5. And I hope that for the sake of the videos I make, the audience I have, I need to keep asking certain questions, because that's the thing. Some semblance of a feature list, however non-committal, would alleviate a lot of confusion and anxiety, because that was building up at this point. This is the 19th of January. Hey, response. I, as a designer here, appreciate your feedback and effort. Seriously, there's a lot that I have been able to learn from listening and speaking to you. I also cannot make that connection with our level designer outside of suggesting that you are interested in doing so. I reply, and I appreciate the continued conversation, as I won't move outside of my bounds and try to directly contact anyone else. When I had my offer for physics plugin, I also went through the community manager and directed it at Doppelganger, as I consider them to be the official approach. Also, if such a request towards the level designer has been made before and denied, I'd appreciate knowing that as well. I have quite a bit of experience being heard, and I'd rather preserve the energy if there is not going to be a potential for a reply. I also understand your situation as being one among many and the way of things. But in some weird way, I'm becoming a bit of a reporter, or at least a columnist. So I'll have to keep presenting things as I see them. And on the forefront is a request for information, for communication towards the community as a whole. This is before I eventually make the Talk to Us video. No, believe me, they reply. I see you're standing in the community, and I understand how it's got to be this way. You often have very logical and reasonable takes, and you temper your expectation based on iterative design. Hence, why I continue to speak to you in DMs. I find a lot of value in it. As far as I know, there has been no other communication request with our level designer beside you, and I would try and continue to get Doppel or Saltz's attention to it. But logic doesn't always enter into it. I smiley face. I'll poke and prod a bit more. Appreciate you for being candid. If the test doesn't get extended this time, I might do a bit of mapping stream again, and I'll keep out hope for that single weapon variant test, which is another thing I've been... All right. Then we have a gap where there's nothing else said. Again, I can't show this on Discord. That's why I cut up the relevant parts, because otherwise I couldn't make them anonymous. 7 days pass. Am I right to assume that you guys are let out of the cage a bit, seeing you responding to the feedback post? So this is the first time the developers are actually in the feedback responding to things after I made the Talk to Us video, which was a bit of a drama thing. But hey, again, you have to ramp it up a little bit to get a result. There was also at that point already the interview happening with Mick from... Salty Octopus, was it? Sorry, blanking for a moment. Yeah. So suddenly things are happening. He just replies, heh, no comments, smiling face. Then we go to the 12th of February. So half a month later. Hey, long time. This is now within Steamfest. I did a thing, chewed on this for a while. This was I believe well, I can't see it anymore. It was the game type to have more things for people to do. And basically that's why I made the joke of I'm responsible for observation posts, because that was one of the things I had in there, to have like midfield things for people to do in CTF that, you know, as a surrogate for base mode, which we knew at that point we weren't going to get. Then I also, 2 days later, made this map. And I put it in the chat here. I also linked it. It's a well, the resolution for Unreal Engine might need normalizing, but hey, it's using your proprietary height map for DX, so have at it. So there you go. I give you a height map. I've never had a response about any of that. Where that goes, nobody knows, probably nowhere, but hey, you keep trying. I also don't push. And this is now 4 days later. I've condensed my feedback on the state of capping in JSON systems. This was my capping video and everything. I made a TLDR and a feedback post. Then I actually get a reply, hey Gret, I've been away from work visiting my family, but I will catch up on you when I return. So I'm like, I figured, you know, after Steam Fest, you guys got some time off. Perfectly fine. And then for 8 days, nothing happened. No responses, nothing else. That is when Erez started talking and throwing things. And that was when that initial list of that when he closed the feedback and started making very sumptuous things, and the first bans started happening. At that point, I did not make a video, which would have been vitriolic to an incredible degree. Instead, I just messaged this. Hey, I want to let you know that I deliberately didn't make content for the game this weekend, as I'm currently a little disillusioned with some of the things said and done. I couldn't bring myself to stream in good faith. I did once. There is one stream where we're basically in the Discord complaining the entire time. I didn't have a good time. I don't feel confident that we'll get the systems we need in order for this community to prove to us that this game is worth continued development. And I find it absolutely perplexing that we're put under such scrutiny like this even before early access release. I feel like we're trying to prove a negative without the game being even half done in the eyes and in my eyes and the eyes of many. There's also no stability in that we've yet to see a roadmap or any indication of what systems will be present for EA. I was expecting to cast pugs and even make some fun pubcasting content, as that used to be my bread and butter, which is true for Triumph Ascent, yet there has not been any word on spectating for a while, in a game that is still being developed on the assumption that it'll be a magical viral esports title, which is kind of what irked me, that thing that Erez said about, you know, we're not going to market this except for on Steam, and we'll see if it goes viral, then we'll do things, which is an incredibly amazing thing to say. I say this without any animosity, just wariness with the knowledge of the past. And I added to it a little later, like 2 hours later. This game is still Tribes, and I did appreciate the new map, Hollow. I just need to put some distance. I'll still make videos, but less the in-depth videos like the Capra one I did recently, as I feel this dev cycle won't even go that far. Now, I also appreciate the pace of development, etc. I did not get a reply. That was my last... that was it. I did end on a lower note there in this conversation. But that was already when things were starting to break down, and I was preparing to make the video I did. Because we had a hard lock set on any of the goodwill we had provided. It was done. Game would be the game. And I understand I did not get a reply to that, because that is not constructive. That is simply a notice saying, hey, I'm having a hard time with this. I have not had no correspondence with any other developer about ideas or anything else. I did, however, send 2 replies or 2 requests. These are them to Solstice, which I'm not going to censor them because they're the community manager. Yeah, there you go. This was then back in December. Cool, thanks. I've been chatting with this developer that I won't name, and I suspect this is also in your wheelhouse, but I'm not just going to do this on my behalf, so here follows the message. Hey, sorry to spring this on you guys. So this was a global message that I wanted to send the developer team, not just the one I was talking to. Hey, sorry to spring this on you guys so early on a Monday, but I have a serious question. Would it be possible to talk to one of you guys about some of the tools and code you're currently using in Unreal Engine? This isn't Greth, the content creator or map guy talking, just someone who would like to save you guys some coding time and heartache with the physics system, which was still very much in a broken state at that time. This is December again. I have a friend who is a senior coder, a systems creator for a AAA studio. We've been working on a Tribes-like project for a bit. He's created some tools that contain a few solutions to issues currently present in Tribes 3, and he's open to have a chat about this. This isn't to downplay the job that's already been done. On the contrary, this is something I want to build my own type of game on, which will be wildly different than Tribes 3, but the basics of Tribes will be the same, I assumed. But I know the crunch you guys must be under, and I think we've already solved some of the problems you've been having. After 6+ Tribes revival projects have come and gone, I can tell. So this is as genuine as can be, and without an attached vision. I am offering to talk about a tool, not the result of using it. Then I talked to Solstice about the fact that my street almost blew up because of a gas leak. I can let him know, though I'm not sure how much will come of it, so temper your expectations. That's fine. Again, this is an offering of a service. We're basically building the same thing, but ours was designed to give the Tribes community a common baseline to start from, so it'll be there regardless. And we do plan on doing something with this tool, perhaps somewhere in the future, the distant future, because again, this is, for some of us, a third hobby. Sounds good, brother. I'll let you know if I get any response regarding it. Thanks, and now, excuse me, I need to return to the 15th century because our power had gone out. Then, that is the 11th of December. I didn't get a reply. I didn't ask. On the 23rd, my birthday, by the way, January, I had a little bit of time and said, hey, the dev I was talking to said I could give a go at trying to get some information from one of the map makers directly, specifically the terrain, of course. I feel like I can inform my feedback better if I know what the approach currently is, and I really do feel like I've got some knowledge to impart. If anything, I'd love to know the height map resolutions that are being worked on, the in-game scaling, and the tools used to create the maps outside of the Unreal Engine. I'd also like to know what the realistic level of my and the community's input can be in terms of actual assets in the future or now. I know I'm not the only one. I know that a lot of things have been talked about, but I feel like knowing at what stage we are at is going to prevent me from being stuck in a loop with the map feedback design feedback. So again, anything you can forward or request yourself is more than welcome. I won't press for more than that. No rush. I get a reply a little later. Hello, Gret, sorry, I never got back to the previous inquiry, but we are currently not working with third-party programmers, so forget about that. It's fine. I tried, right? It was a moonshot. Let me look into the most recent inquiry. No worries, man. I had a hell of a time of the year too. Things you don't need to know about. That was personal. This is all in the pursuit of making the game good and saving Prophecy some time and effort where needed, and sometimes a lot of grief. Same thing with my next request. A lot of time and effort could be spared if knowledge can be imparted, but most of all, I just want to have the correct perspective so I can assist best from the position I'm in. Hey man, unfortunately, I'm unable to put you in touch, so this is 2 days later. I'm unable to put you in touch with any of your map design team at the time. Sorry about that. I think most valuable thing you could do is post a feedback thread in the meantime, though. No dice on the stuff like resolution or any of the map progress currently. This is not company secret stuff. This is literally what scale are you working on, so I can work at that scale. It is baseline things. Okay? Problem is, of course, that you're probably still working in the editor of Unreal itself and only using generators for the background terrain, and that's why also we're not getting any mirror terrain, which is one of the key things to making things easier for cappers and for new players. But there you go. I'd love to have some and again, this is not a stab, this is a result of your situation, but we have to evaluate you on the end result eventually because we're going into early access. and it was community-inspired design. I tried twice. I'd love to have some concrete information to go off of. I don't suppose those would be closely guarded company secrets, as I said. Appreciate the effort though, and I understand people are doing their jobs first and indulging in a map-obsessed Belgian second. I did make a QA post accompanying my latest video. There you are. I want to stipulate that everything I do is also an aggregate. Again, I felt like I was becoming a columnist or a reporter for the tribes community in my videos. I impart some of the feedback that I'm getting personally, and I impart those. So a lot of the frustrations have been building because we want to help, whatever it, at least me personally, I don't care about what form this tribe would take. If we would have had 5v5, 7v7, 16 versus 16, it would not have mattered to me, because my goal is to get these maps out. This is an ideological thing. I don't even need to get paid. Never did I once request to be a freelancer, to be hired. I laugh about that. I make a joke about that, but I have a day job that is more than intense. Thank you very much. I have 2 weekends every month because otherwise I'm busy or too stressed to actually do anything. I don't need a second job. I'm literally giving this. And I'm serious. I do have some pride in what I have accomplished and what I can impart. And then, of course, if you say things like this to a moderator who responds to me, hey, have you reached out on your ban? I just noticed it and sent a message to Solstice, awaiting response. I have zero idea why you're banned. So this is Merlin, the moderator, because of a video I made done by Eris personally, which I had confirmed at that time. Jesus Christ. And then I joke, of course, because I'm in the middle of it. Drama's good for the channel, making a response now. And then a little later, even Greth stated he's happy with the drama so he can have more of a viewership. All right, man. Cool. So, he says a lot of stupid things that just keep pissing off many of our hardworking developers. He's also making his own version. Take that with a grain of salt. Well, we talked to him in the past already, but he doesn't listen or care. Not going to waste any more time on him or let him poison the well with bad intentions. No, because they are not doing what they are just told. And it is pissing off the developers. Yes. What I am telling them to do is the minimum of what Tribes needs to be. I don't care what form it makes. The analogy would be you are making a car for racing and you arrive with a bicycle. There are people around you that say, hey, if you want, you can actually use our rally car designs or our Formula 1 designs. You can have them for free. We get pushed away. And then you come back with a three-wheeler with an engine on it and say, this is basically the same thing. And then you're angry when people start getting mad when you claim that this is the same thing as a Formula 1 or a rally car or whatever, to not kill the analogy completely. And the people who are working on your engineering team are building the car. They're probably really good at what they're doing, but they're being told to make something completely ridiculous. I've been on the internet a long time, and I've been a community manager. I have been a moderator. I've been a community leader. I've assisted even on one of your own games. I've done a lot of things for Tribes Ascend in the past. If you think this is going to work, if you are simply going to make such a weak attempt at my character and person, don't. Because I'm well prepared for these things. And I don't wish to continue doing so. Because despite you, I want this game to succeed. I don't want to see it fail. But you are making it impossible. So I'm not going to bring up other receipts, like Glassdoor reviews or certain chats had in a 19-year-old stream 6 years ago about Realm Royale. Because I could go over those right now because I have got them sitting right there. This is not about that. So for my momentary lapse in composure, which again got a result, which was far more than I bargained for, you can further try to twist the narrative, that's fine. But I am not the enemy here. I can be your enemy, but I don't want to be right now. And that is a pitiful thing to say on YouTube, and it is a cringe thing. Oh, it's so silly, but that's apparently the world you live in because you resolve to these kind of things. That's fine. I know for a fact that some developers have been talking to community members, prominent community members, and have been trying to good sessions and actually make this game work still in the allotted time remaining, sorry. So there is still some goodwill, there is still an ability to enhance this game. Again, this is baffling to me. So you know what? Sincerely, if this really triggered you that much, then I apologize. Apologize for being rude and getting the nuclear reaction from that, because I am literally perplexed. This is the first time this has happened to me like this. A little gentle ribbing, and clearly that is not the environment you present yourself in, so odd, isn't it? But don't unban me. That's fine. But I'll still be around. And I want to make this game work. And I'll still make suggestions. And I'll still make the videos. But don't go for my integrity again. When yours is so very clearly put out there.